Welcome to Mr. Otto going over the final review for the first semester. This is the top 10 mistakes from last year. Let's go through them and see if you guys can not make these mistakes. We have an absolute value inequality. Remember, there's two things that can happen in an absolute value. There's one where the case is positive, and the other case is when that absolute value thing is negative. Solving this first case by adding 5 to both sides, I get 2x is greater than or equal to 30, x is greater than or equal to 15. Over here, distributing, I get negative 2x plus 5 is greater than or equal to 25, minus 5 from both sides. I get negative 2x is greater than or equal to 20. So x, remember we're dividing by a negative here. We have to switch the sign, gives me negative 10. Let's put that in interval notation. My first one, x is greater than or equal to 15. That would be a 15 greater than means to the right. And on this one, we have x is less than or equal to negative 10, so negative 10 inclusive, and it goes to negative infinity, and this would be a union. Next problem. Solving a system of equations. None of them can be multiplied by a single thing, so we're going to have to multiply both equations by something. I'm going to multiply the top equation by 4 and the bottom equation by 3. By doing that, we're going to get both of the x terms to be opposites of each other, and then we'll be able to add them together and they'll go away. I get 12x plus 20y equals 100 on top, and on the bottom I get negative 12x plus 33y equals 6. Adding them together, 12 and negative 12, they go away. 20 and 33 gives me 53y equals 106. Dividing by 53 gives me y equals 2. Now we need to get the y value, so I'm going to plug that back into the top one. 3x plus 5 times 2 equals 25, giving me 3x plus 10 equals 25, minus 10, minus 10. 3x equals 15, x must be 5. So my point of intersection would be at 5, 2. The next common mistake was finding the equation of a perpendicular line perpendicular to this and goes through that point. Remember, perpendicular slopes are the opposite reciprocal, so I would have negative 3/2 being my perpendicular slope because it's the opposite reciprocal. And going through this point, I'm going to use point slope form. So y minus y1 equals negative 3/2 times the quantity x minus x1. And I get y minus 21 equals negative 3/2 x plus 27. Negative 3/2 times negative 18 is positive 27. Adding 21 to both sides, I get y equals negative 3/2 x plus 48. The next mistake was coming up with a horizontal line that goes through there. I'm going to grab an axis and put it in here, and I'm going to graph that point 6, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. We know that a horizontal line that goes through there is going to look like this. If I find one more point on that line, let's say this point here, that's 1, 4. If you notice, the y value of 4 is in common. So our equation of a horizontal line is y equals 4. Next equation that we're going to find, or we're given the equation and we're asked to find the slope and the y-intercept. So I'm going to solve this for y. First I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. And I get negative 4y equals negative 3x plus 8. Divide by negative 4, divide by negative 4, divide by negative 4. I get y equals negative divided by negative is positive 3/4 x minus 2. Here we have squaring of a binomial. The most common mistake with that is people would square the first term and square the last term. Remember, squaring means to multiply by itself. So we have a binomial times a binomial, so I'm going to FOIL. First times first gives me 16x squared. Outside times outside gives me 28x. Inside times inside also gives me 28x. And last times last gives me 49. I want to simplify the two middle terms, giving me 56x plus 49. The next mistake, that's the most common, is graphing of an inequality that's in standard form. The method that we use for graphing the standard form is to find the x and y intercepts. If I set my x equal to 0, the 2x part goes away, and I'm left with negative 3y is greater than or equal to 6. And so I get divide by the negative 3. 6 divided by negative 3 is negative 2. Notice I'm not dealing with the inequality part yet. I'm just getting my points. Next part is to set my y equal to 0. 2x equals 6 is what's left, which gives me 3. So I have 0, negative 2, and 3, 0. Using my line, I'm going to get that. And then I want to shade one side or another. Remember that it's a solid line because of the equals in there. To test out which side I'm going to shade on, I'm going to test the point 0, 0. So I get 2 times 0 minus 3 times 0 is greater than or equal to 6. So is 0 greater than 6? False on that side, so we would shade on that side. The next mistake is solving a couple inequalities and putting them into interval notation. First thing I'm going to do is do the solving by subtracting 3 from both sides. I get x is greater than 5. Or, solving this one, I'm going to add 7 to both sides. I get 2x is greater than or less than or equal to negative 6. Dividing by 2, dividing by 2. X is less than or equal to negative 3. Notice I don't have to switch the sign when I'm dividing a negative number by a positive. So now here I have to put it in interval notation. First I'm going to graph it. Here's my 5. X is greater than 5, so I'm going to put a parenthesis there going that way. X is less than or equal to negative 3, bracket, because of the equal sign going that way. So in interval notation, I'm going to have negative infinity to negative 3, bracket, parenthesis, union, because it's an OR statement, parenthesis 5 to infinity. Let's try to solve this one. First thing that we're going to do here is we're going to multiply the whole inequality by the common denominator, which is 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 1 times my numerator gives me 5x plus 3 minus 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 times my numerator is less than or equal to 6 divided by 3 is 2 times whatever's in my numerator. The next step, I'm going to get rid of all these parentheses. I get 5x plus 3 minus 21 minus 9x is less than or equal to negative 8x plus 18. Simplifying my like terms, 5x and negative 9 gives me negative 4x. 3 and negative 21 gives me negative 18. And I get less than or equal to negative 8x plus 18. Let's move my 8x to this side. And I get 4x minus 18 less than or equal to 18. Add 18 to both sides, and I get 4x is less than or equal to 36, so x is less than or equal to 9. And here we go, finding the degree of the polynomial and then naming it. Well, I know this one is a trinomial, and I know its degree is going to be, that one's term is 3, this one's degree is 2, and this one is 7. Remember, we don't add them together, you just pick the largest one. So this one is degree 7. This one, since it doesn't have any other terms besides this one, we're going to call it a monomial. And its degree is 0 because there's no x's or y's. In number 10 here, we have 1, 2, 3 terms, so that's again a trinomial. And its degree here looks like a 6. 4 plus 3 is 7. This one's 5. Again, we don't add them together. We just pick the largest degree. Largest number is 7. That would be its degree. That is it. Good luck.